We have a lot to talk about after the first race of the second round at Talladega. Charlotte. How's it going, everybody? I'm Eric and this is Out of the Groove. I know the background is completely different because I am back in Houston to film this video this weekend. By the time you're watching this on Monday, I'm back in Austin in my dorm room, typing away on the computer, replying to your comments. But as of Sunday evening when I'm filming this, I'm back home. The first race of the chase did not go very well for many chase contenders. I'll start off on a positive note though. Jimmie Johnson finally broke through and got his first win in 24 races, as he was one of the best cars most of the day here at Charlotte, took advantage of some late race mistakes from other people, and held off Matt Kenseth on a late restart to get his third win of the season, first of the chase. He moves on into the round of 8. Sigh of relief for 48 fans. Now, the 48 team have been good in recent weeks. They've had very strong cars, been fast, but they've had a lot of pit road penalties, a lot of mistakes here and there that have cost them from good finishes. But this week, none of that happened. They were one of the few chase drivers, one of the only, I think they might have been the only chase driver to not have a problem, and so they went on and got the win. Matt Kenseth had to start from the rear, but he worked his way through the field multiple times and seemed to have about a 10th, 15th place car most of the race, but they made improvements, and also, again, thanks to some late race troubles, were able to get into the top 5, ultimately finished second, so a great day for that team as well. They're looking good on points so far. Kyle Busch also had a good chase day, got some damage on a late race wreck, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but ultimately finished 6th, so that's a pretty good start for him as well. Brad Keselowski finished 7th, Kurt Busch finished 8th, Carl Edwards ran well most of the day but finished 12th, and Martin Truex Jr. as well. Started off poor, got up to look like he had a top 5 car, but ultimately fell back and finished 13th. Still not terrible, but not what they were looking for. I was particularly a little surprised by the lack of performance we saw from Truex most of the race, especially since he dominated the race at Charlotte earlier this year, and he's been on such a good roll lately. This brought up a few minor concerns this weekend at Charlotte. Nothing major. I still think he's a favorite to get out of this round, potentially still a favorite for the Final Four, but, you know, it was a little bit of, it might have been a slight back step, or step back. That's a basketball term. So yeah, Truex wasn't his best race, but, you know, can't win them all, even though Truex has come really close sometimes. So for the sake of not making this episode super duper long, I should probably get into all the craziness that caused so many chasers trouble. It all started with Kevin Harvick, who early in the race seemed to have a strong car. He lost power under green, ultimately fell way back. They had to go to the garage forever, it took him a while to diagnose it. He ended up finishing 38th, and now we've seen this before. Everyone likes to bring up the last couple of years, particularly last year when he had problems in one of the rounds of the chase, but ultimately got a win right when he needed it most. And if anyone can win in the clutch, Kevin Harvick has proven it. But he's going to probably have to do it once again, as the 38th place finish has put him in a little bit of a hole. Not a terribly big hole, not as big a hole as you would think, but a decent sized hole going into these final 2 races of the round. Harvick only sits 8 points out of the 8th place cutoff position, but he's got to go through 4 drivers to get there. So it could be worse, but it definitely could be better. The second guy to have major problems was Joey Logano. Now, Joey Logano did pretty good early on, drove his way into the top 10, seemed to be solid, but 2 tire problems, including a major impact on a blown tire fairly late in the race, cost him. He finished 36th. Now, much like Harvick, his situation isn't terrible, but it's still, he's probably going to need a win, unless everyone struggles at Talladega, and he doesn't, which is likely, but still going to be tough. A lot of people disagreed with me when I picked Logano as being out in this round in my last video. Just want to say, guys, got you this week. Yeah, there's 2 weeks to go. He'll probably prove me wrong and get a win at Kansas or something, but, you know, I'm winning for now. Chase Elliott was probably the most disappointing result of the day. Early on, he led over 100 laps, seemed to have the best car. Probably did have the best car, even though he got put back in traffic on some pit stops and whatnot, pit cycling not going his way. But on a late race restart with 74 laps to go, things got crazy. Austin Dillon, another chase driver, took 2 tires and was restarting second on the inside of Jimmie Johnson. Now, both Johnson and Austin Dillon didn't get great jumps right away, but Austin Dillon got a slight tap from the back by Martin Truex Jr., which sent him around in front of the field. Chase Elliott was then turned as everyone jammed up. He got run over in the back by Kyle Busch. He turned into the outside wall. Heavy damage on both his car and Austin Dillon's, 2 chase contenders. They did not have good days as a result. Chase Elliott finished 33rd, and Austin Dillon ultimately finished 32nd. But since Chase Elliott led some laps, he has an extra bonus point. The 2 of them are both tied in points. They're both 3 points behind 8th place Denny Hamlin. So situation's not quite as bleak for them, because they are only 3 points out with 2 races to go. Easily can make that up, but they're going to have to be strong. And Chase Elliott and Austin Dillon, 2 drivers with very little experience, with really no chase experience, it's going to be difficult for them to maybe put together consistent runs that can beat guys like, especially when they got Kevin Harvick and Joey Logano behind them in points, who we know are going to be strong in these next 2 races. It might be difficult for them to stay ahead of them and then ultimately beat people like Denny Hamlin and Kurt Busch, guys that are in front of them right now in points. Chase Elliott has definitely shown the speed, and he'll just need to get some luck on his side if he's going to make things happen in this round. Denny Hamlin was the last guy to have problems while running second with less than, I think, 30 laps to go. He blew an engine out of nowhere, ultimately finished 30th, also hurt him in the points. He's still technically in 8th place because so many guys had problems. He's still technically, in the chase at the moment, but he's only 3 points to the good, like I said, and Kansas and Talladega haven't particularly been his best tracks. I mean, nobody's great at Talladega except Dale Jr., so it's still on the edge there for Hamlin. All the mayhem from Sunday is really going to set up an interesting dynamic going into these next 2 races. I mean, obviously everyone still wants to be consistent, but there's really nobody right now that's in just a pure must-win scenario. Obviously, like I said, Harvick, Logano probably are going to have to win or get a lot of help at Talladega or Kansas, I guess. But it's going to be tough to do it without a win or at least top 3 finishes. Now, before I wrap this episode up, I feel like I should go back to the big thing of the day, was the big wreck that I said involved Austin Dillon and Chase Elliott among others. That wreck screwed up a lot of people. That's part of what put Kyle Busch back, and he did a great job driving back forward to get that 6th place finish. The incident caused a little bit of damage on both Kurt Busch's car. I think Carl Edwards maybe even had some, along with a bunch of people, non-chasers, but we're not here to talk about them. The wreck ultimately started when it seemed like Austin Dillon, when shifting into, I guess, 2nd gear, maybe 3rd gear, I don't know what the gear he was in, didn't seem to jump into gear quite as well as Truex's did, and Truex gave him a little bump. Not a serious bump by any means. I mean, it was fairly... You see that pretty often on restarts, but it was just awkward enough, I guess, and I guess it hit Dillon in just the worst possible time that it sent him around, and yeah, it stacked up the whole field, and everything else happened. As guys were jamming up and people were getting kind of run over each other, Kyle Busch ran hard into the back of Chase Elliott's car, which we've seen happen on restarts before, people getting run over. It's not a big deal. I mean, you can't really fault Kyle Busch for that. I mean, I've seen dozens of drivers get run over from instances like that. There's some that are just blatant where you're like, why were you not? How could you not know? But I can't fault Kyle Busch too bad for that one. I mean, he tore up his own race car in the process. Neither of them benefited. Kyle obviously drove back to a 6th place finish, so ultimately it didn't hurt him as bad as Chase Elliott, obviously. But I can't fault Kyle Busch for just being an idiot or anything like that. I think he just, he can't. There's nothing you can do in that scenario. That being said, it was a tough break for Chase Elliott, and a close call for many other drivers as well. Jimmy Johnson and Austin Dillon almost got to get on the front row. I mean, Denny Hamlin and Matt Kenseth were both right there in the outside lane. They could have easily gotten clipped by Chase Elliott or any of them, so it was close. And even Truex, even though he gave him the little bump that sent him around, it could have been very easy for him to have gotten taken out with him. Truex, as it was able to drive through it and avoid any serious damage. That was definitely the highlight or low light of the race, depending on how you look at it. A lot of chase drivers, like I said, got tore up. A lot of non-chase drivers got tore up. Created a very interesting, it shook up the lineup for sure. There's some drivers all of a sudden that were up in the top 5, top 6 that hadn't been there all day, like Newman or Kenseth, people like that suddenly got big time track position out of a lot of guys getting tore up, and it created an interesting final couple runs of the race. All in all, this weekend's race at Charlotte made up for the very lackluster race at Dover we saw, where very little happened whatsoever. So much happened here at Charlotte, we didn't even know I could barely fit it all into an episode. I wish I could talk a little bit more in detail about what all of these incidents possibly mean for these drivers, but since we're out of time, I'm going to save that for Friday's episode. So there's a teaser for you guys. That's what they call it in the business. I'm not in any business. What am I talking about? But anyway, like I said, that is our show. Thank you guys so much for watching. There'll be a new episode on Monday, like I just teased. Please follow me on Twitter if you haven't already, @Dex Racing. Links are in the description to those types of thingies. There's a new NASCAR parody I released last week. If you've not seen that, please. Also, I think that I'll put that in the description as well. It might be on the side of your little suggested videos too. I don't know. Please watch that if you haven't either. Yeah, that's all I have. New episodes of this Mondays and Fridays. I say this all the time. Y'all have heard it at this point. Thanks again for watching. I am never going to film in this area again. The lighting is really bad in my room. I should have filmed this somewhere else, like in my studio or whatever. But I like the backgrounds. I like having a lot of stuff in the background. It's just fun. It's a mess back there. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you guys from my regular studio on, I call it a studio. It's my dorm room. This is going on way too long. I'll see you guys on Friday. Have a good one.